I can't possibly serve all of the customers that need me. We do not have enough designers and developers to do the accessibility focused work that's necessary to support the aging population we have right now and the people that are coming along behind us. Like, we don't have enough people to do the work. So I'm kind of like, steal my business idea, go nuts. I think there is enough for all of us.
Welcome to In Her Words. This podcast is for women navigating through change, career, identity, motherhood, and just figuring out what's next. I'm Roberta Dombrowski, host of In Her Words and founder of Learn Mindfully. Each episode, I sit down with women who are asking big questions, navigating transitions, and trying to make sense of life as it shifts. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need space to be real. Let's get into it. With me today, I have Maigen Thomas. She is the founder of Level 11 Technology, an apprenticeship agency. She has 10 plus years of experience in enterprise software design and product development, and almost as many years of experience teaching and mentoring, most notably as a UX UI bootcamp instructor at UC Berkeley. Maigen's specialization is in website accessibility, and she gets excited to empower folks at all levels of business and tech experience with knowledge to ensure inclusive experiences for all of their customers, regardless of their level of ability or disability. Welcome, Maigen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, let's dive in. You are a small business owner. Tell us a little bit about your practice.
It's very interesting. I am a very small business owner, and mostly the business is me. And I think that's true for a lot of solopreneurs as we get started. But I started it, officially registered the business in June of 2023, but I didn't start working on it until I was invited to seek success elsewhere from my W-2 job. They were trying to downsize the UX department so that they could make more budget available for engineers in the onset of AI. And I took that as the universe says, you know what? I was never meant for corporate anyways. Essentially, a few months earlier, I had gotten some feedback from what I love to say is a middle-aged white man in middle America telling me I'm not qualified for middle management. Like, that's a sign if I ever got one. So I started working on it last year, and I've been slowly building it up ever since. It is so much harder than anyone tells you. And trust me, they do tell you. But everybody has to figure out their own path. So it's been really interesting. But essentially, what I do is I help business owners make their websites more accessible. So my first option is to come alongside, be a consultant, let you know where maybe you're being less inclusive on your website and the things that you could do. And if they're one of those, I can do it myself. I know how to, I'm the one who built the website, then they're basically off and running. And then I can also come alongside and partner with, I can do those changes for you. And then, like, the most, I guess, expensive option is let's build an entire new website. But that's not my first suggestion. Most people just need to make a few updates to the code, a couple of different decisions, and suddenly, bada bing, bada boom, you got a more accessible website. And then you have access to more of the market that has disabilities. And there are 1.3 billion people in the world with disabilities. So we'd like to tap into that market if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your origin story about bouncing back from the layoff to establishing the business. And I was curious at that point, because a lot of clients that I work with go through a similar transition from a layoff and they're questioning diving into creating their own business. Was there any fear or apprehension before you went ahead and took the plunge and invested in this area a year ago?
If it had happened at a different time, there would have been fear. But I had already been working with my positivity coach about how I really did feel like being in a corporate environment was like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. But because this is how we're told we need to succeed, this is how we exist in our capitalist world, like, I just have to make it work. It's fine. It's fine. Thinking the whole time something's wrong with me. So by the time this happened, no, it was a real sign. And I was actually excited about it. In fact, my manager who was giving me this news was like, you seem to be taking this well. And I'm like, no, this is a positive. This is an amazing experience. This is a very clear invitation. And you're offering severance for me. And that's funding for my business. Like, there is nothing not positive about this. And I think that if I hadn't already been doing the work of, hey, maybe this corporate world isn't for me and there's more out there for what I'm meant to do. If I hadn't been doing that work already, this might have been a little bit more emotional for me. But I had literally been in Chicago visiting my company. So I got laid off on the first day I was there. So I basically had a paid vacation. I was like, oh, okay. So I got to go to some cool places in Chicago, went to the Museum of Science and Industry, which I would not have made time for. Got to meet some people in person that I would not otherwise have had a chance to hang out with. It was actually perfect, but that's that positive slant always.
Yeah. I would love to be paid to go to Chicago. It's my favorite city, so it sounds
It
like
is amazing. My favorite restaurant in the United States is there.
yeah. What is it?
It's called the Purple Pig, and it's on Michigan Avenue, and it's something pork, wine, and no, swine, wine and swine and cheese or something. Cheese, wine, and swine. And I'm like, yes, I'm in. That's my
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it is James Beard award-winning restaurant. It's just phenomenal. It's one of those like tasting menus. You want to order a little of everything and everyone can have some. It's phenomenal.
I love that. You talked a little bit about trying to fit in within corporate and kind of not it's not working. I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit about that journey, what it was like for you. Do you feel like you had to like mask in the workplace or kind of shift yourself to fit in?
Oh, the level of masking, you forget as a neurodivergent person, you forget after a while of doing it, you become so numb to the effort that it takes that when you can unmask, you're like, it's like unclenching your butt and letting go of your shoulders at the same time. You're just like, wait, what? I can stop clenching my abs and be
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a totally different experience building a business where I get to be my authentic self versus making sure that I'm palatable for middle America. So I'm over here on the West Coast, obviously with the pink hair. We've got a slightly different vibe than corn-fed America, and you kind of have to align with their expectations. And most of the time that's, being attentive in meetings and making sure to have a pleasant smile on your face so that you're not like showing up as I'm here, but it's a 6 a.m. meeting. It's 8 for you. It's 6 for me. But yeah, sure, I guess I'm here. But no, I'm excited to be here. I'm so thrilled to like get your feedback on something that could have been an email. Yeah, it's nonstop masking. I think it was only 6 months in when I finally felt like I could trust my boss and I had started to build relationships with people that I could kind of like relax a little bit. But let's be real, I don't think there's one day where I actually like let my hair down and was the full Megan experience because I don't trust that people in a corporate environment aren't always trying to maximize whatever their experience is. I've had enough experiences where people get weird and you're just like, I don't need to be my real self around you. But it's exhausting. You've
It
done it.
is. It is. I think a lot of that I was talking to a client earlier today actually. I think ego is huge in corporate workplaces and then it creates this weird energy where it's like you kind of have to like I call it dick swinging.
Yeah,
Basically, you're
that's
like dick
exactly what it
swinging
is.
to prove that like you're competent and you're great and you need to excel. And it becomes less about the mission or the actual job, and it comes more about appearances and politics, which
Right.
as a fellow neurodivergent leader, I'm like, I could care less about that stuff. Just like I want to do a good job and go home, and that's it.
Right.
So
I
yeah.
love a paycheck. I love a regularly deposited paycheck. That is an
Yes.
addiction that was hard to break. But I didn't love the fact that I had to show up and like pretend to
Yeah.
care that this person who was manipulative and like seemed out to get people, I had to like play nice and be like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? And oh, no, it's just no big deal, whatever. Like you have to play these games
Yeah.
when I just want to do a really good job and go home. And you could do better at communicating and I think there are more neurodivergent people out there than we've all been masking for so long that we're like, "Are you one of us?" kind of thing, that it's kinda hard to recognize, like, who's a true ally in your environment. And then when you work remotely, how do you truly get to know someone?
Exactly.
Because all you get to see is me in this little square, and that's who I am to you.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think I might be wrong with this statistic, but I feel like I saw that like 4% of the population has ADHD or something like that, which is a huge amount.
It's a huge amount, but also it seems
It's probably
low.
higher.
The amount of YouTube I watch, that seems low.
Yes. I'm curious, when you were in corporate, did you ever disclose that you were neurodivergent to your teammates, or was that something that you kind of held closer to your chest and didn't need to share?
Great question. I only found out I was diagnosed with ADHD and autism in my early mid 30s. So, like 31, I think it was. And it was only then that I made a transition into tech. I was a flight attendant before this, don't have a 4 year degree. I was an illegal nanny in Canada for 3 years before they kicked me out. And that's why I became a flight attendant. I'm like, I don't know what to do now. I guess I will just apply to this. And they hired me. And then I traveled around the world. So, I was open about it to folks that I went to boot camp with, and I was somewhat closeted about it when I went to different jobs, partly because I did not know how to manage myself in a corporate environment. And then after my first job, which was amazing, I had wonderful leadership, wonderful mentorship, and a lot of career growth. And then went to a couple of places that I was chasing the title like you do. I was chasing the money like you do, and found myself in some really weird like situations that I later found out had nothing to do with me. They were because the leadership was weird. Like some guy 10 years ago stole a client list and now nobody gets to work from home and we don't have laptops. We have like big old desktop computers. And I was like, is this normal? No, it's a secret. It's not.
It's not at all.
But in this last job, I did, and I actually felt more comfortable. I think part of it was the fact that I was already a senior. I was hired as a senior, and I did have a lot of value to bring to that work environment. But there were also other people who were neurodivergent. My boss was very, I don't want to say obviously neurodivergent, but there are signs. There are signs. And they made it very, very clear, like, I am neurodivergent. I want to support you wherever you are. And I was like, okay, I actually feel comfortable. It was after that boss was let go that I was like, oh, they were protecting us from a lot of very not neurodivergent, very typical neurotypical people who had business expectations that were just not congruent with maybe my type of communication or my work style. So we had a really amazing, I say we because we were in a small team and all of us were neurodivergent. So our boss hired all of us and we were a weird little crew, but we were the design team. So it worked out really nicely.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it became very evident after they left that it was not a super safe place for neurodivergent folks.
Yeah, I get that question from clients often of like, should I disclose this? And I mean, I struggled with that too. I
Kind of like a take each situation as it comes, and even then, there's still a 50-50 shot it's gonna get weird.
Yeah, I didn't get diagnosed till I was in undergrad actually, so I went all throughout childhood. My mother, like, was told by teachers that I probably had it, but she didn't want it to be held against me, so I
Did
never
you get
got,
the
like
note sent home? Megan talks too much. Megan
Yeah,
spends
yeah,
more time
yeah.
talking than doing her work, and I'm like,
Literally. And so, like, when I got it diagnosed in college, it was like a breath of fresh air, but I actually didn't share it with many people. Like, even in the workplace, I don't think many people like, if you know me, you'd know if you worked with me close, but I never wanted it weaponized against me because I've seen
"Yes.
it weaponized
Yeah.
against other people, unfortunately,
Yeah.
especially even being in a leadership role before, just like
Oh, yeah. That's a great way to be taken down by your maybe not peers in your organization, but other peers who wanna take on like, the politics in the corporate environment is mercenary. Makes it hard for you to protect your team, and that is frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious what has opened up for you now, because you speak about being neurodivergent, and I imagine it's very different now that you have your own practice and you can share whatever you want now. There's no politics that you have to really deal with.
No, what I do share about it, I share about it, and it does attract the people to me who are similar and go, "Oh, thank goodness there's someone here who I feel safe with that I can be myself around," and kind of learn from both what experiences I've had and what I'm trying to build in the future. So, building an apprenticeship agency has not gone the way that I anticipated, but I also was doing a little bit of magical thinking when I started this, like, the money's just going to come be thrown at me and people are going to love to work with me. And it turns out you still got to go market and do all the business building stuff. So the apprenticeship is a very slow roll. I had a cohort of early career folks, and all of them were neurodivergent to some extent, different ones. Some of them had master's degrees, some of them had no degree whatsoever, but all of them basically struggled to find their footing and just wanted a place where they could learn without worrying about the judgment of that particular part of their work style, their personality, and just could show up and be a good worker and learn. And I feel like that is underrated. That is an underrated thing to have in a corporate environment. People, they only want someone who can hit the ground running. And I don't know a lot of people who can actually do that without making mistakes that sometimes can't be like walked back as easily. I think all juniors should have a safe space to learn, kind of like I did. I started as an intern. I worked hard. A neurodivergent person means that like sometimes I did like 12-hour days because I was
Yep.
just so in the zone.
Hyper focus. Yeah.
Yes, it was actually my superpower early in my career. And I remember going to my CTO because we had a very flat structure at the time. And I was like, so I really want to dig in on this particular ticket. I was a developer at the time, and I'm close to like my 40 hours a week, and I know I'm an intern. Like, am I able to go over that? And he honestly laughed and was just like, "You were the cheapest laborer on the team. Go nuts." And I was like, "Okay." It was like $15 an hour. I'm like, "Yeah." But I was having a wonderful time and learning, and I want that environment for everyone.
Yeah.
So I kind of like my goal is to focus on hiring neurodivergent people, not just them, but folks who are from under-resourced, marginalized backgrounds, people who may not feel as welcome in tech because, I mean, you probably have looked at the numbers on this too. I think we only have like 4% of designers. So I'm in the UX design world. Like only 4% of designers are Black. And I'm like, I'm sorry. That seems like a weirdly low population, and maybe we wouldn't end up with the soap and towel dispensers that can't see melanated skin if we had
Yeah.
people in the room. So my goal, and it's a long-term goal in the next 10 years, is to help foster and build up the kind of talent that can hit the ground running, but only because they've had that, icky growth spurt in a safe place where they get to go, oh, that's not what I thought that meant at all. And learning how to communicate and like play the corporate game, but in a place where they're not penalized for it and set back in their career before they really get any traction.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I could also see just because of your style as holding the space and designing the space that all of these people, they become so empowered by you. Maybe they even decide to skip corporate altogether and like do their own practices and a lot.
That is a dream come true. I dream of a day in the future where someone comes to me and says, Megan, after working for you, I never wanted to work for another like middle-aged white guy in middle America. And I built my own thing, and I would love that. In fact, I am creating my business pretty much out loud because I can't possibly serve all of the customers that need me. We do not have enough designers and developers to do the accessibility focused work that's necessary to support the aging population we have right now. And the people that are coming along behind us, like we don't have enough people to do the work. So I'm kind of like, steal my business idea, go nuts.
Yeah.
I think there is enough for all of us.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I'm curious because your focus of your practice, you have the mentorship arm, and then you also have the side, the consultancy that's focused on accessibility. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what that experience has been like with the current administration change. Like, have you seen changes? Like,
I know what the changes
yeah.
are for me. Obviously, a few months ago, I guess it was like 3 months ago, it honestly feels like, how did we get to the middle of July? But so far, we're getting through it. Yeah, it's like almost 6 months we've survived this. I think it was like 3 months ago, somebody said, I think accessibility is illegal now. And I'm like, okay, I think you're misreading the content and you're like reading someone's opinion of the content. So I went and read the executive order and all of this. And essentially, what I took away from it is that our current DOJ is not going to prioritize penalizing businesses for making their website or not making their websites accessible. Fine. You know who is going to hold you accountable for that? The people that you're leaving out. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not totally certain it's a fact, but I'm pretty sure it's true that it was the baby boomer generation that invented the concept of litigiousness, of suing to get what you want or need or your rights accounted for in this country. And that's the generation where 11,000 of them are turning 65 every day. All of the baby boomer generation will be age 65 and older by 2030. By 2035, people over 60, I think, probably going to get these a little squiffy, but they're going to outnumber the 18 and unders by 2 to 1, something like that. There are 730 million aging adults in the world, 1.3 billion people with disabilities. They're all going to need access to goods and services. It's really just good business sense to make sure that your website and products are accessible. And if not, yeah, the DOJ might not come for you, but I think some of your customers who feel left out are definitely going to.
Do you, in your current work, do you feel like you have to convince people to invest in accessibility, or it's like, no, you don't even want to deal with them? Like, you want the people who already find it important and who are willing to invest?
That is a great question. So I am figuring that out right now. So what I'm realizing is that I can't come at it from your website needs to be accessible or else kind of perspective. I help them by understanding more about their customers and then go, oh, so it looks like you are operating in an area that has a higher population of older adults. So you should probably focus on these kinds of fixes for your website or improvements that will increase this target market because they have money and we want more money, don't we? And then it's a no-brainer for businesses to go, oh, yeah, we should. They just don't know about it. It's the weirdest thing to me. And I guess because I grew up with someone who became disabled as they aged, that I'm aware that it can happen. But what I'm realizing is that most people don't have a relationship, a close personal relationship with someone who is disabled or has a disability. And so they kind of struggle with empathy for it. And I think we're in a bit of I didn't couldn't quite
Empathy
put a name.
scarcity.
Yes. I didn't know
Yeah.
what the name is, but I'm like, man, we are struggling with this for having so much social media, so many videos, so much insight into people's lives. We still seem to struggle as humans, and I do this myself. We struggle to have empathy for other people. This is a weird thing. And I know this is most of your audience is like, I think, leaning towards like female or non
Yeah, yeah.
binary. I'm going to say some controversial stuff. I'm still working this thought out, but it's kind of like helping men understand sexual assault because they have to go, if it was your mother, your sister, your daughter, then it makes sense to them. Then they realize, oh, I wouldn't want that to happen. And it's kind of the same thing with other people understanding people with disabilities. When I ask people to imagine someone, bring someone to mind with a disability, they honestly kind of head towards Stephen Hawking, which is a very extreme
Yeah.
like example of that. There's so many varieties in between this and that that you're like, okay, all right, I see where you got that. But like these are assistive technology. Just because
Yeah.
it's, over 100 years now that we've had glasses doesn't mean that it has always been an existing assistive device. So helping people understand in small ways that like, yeah, your Nana needs to make the text bigger so she can read it more
Yep.
effectively. And don't we want to make that possible? Yeah, we do. So really a lot of it is educating. So most of the people that I work with are already people who, as you probably know, like, and trust me. And I'm starting to slowly get more out in there and just talking about like, hey, you are only temporarily abled. Last year, I fell off a horse that I had no real business being on, let's be real. And I was cow sorting. I have video. It's not awesome. I should put it on my YouTube. But basically, like I'm riding a horse, and at this point, me and her have not figured out who's in charge. She thinks she is, and I
Yeah.
clearly have not established dominance. And so I kind of panicked, and we're in a pen with poop and pee and
Oh
cows and
my
all sorts of
gosh.
smelly things. And I got nervous that the horse was going a little too fast and I didn't want to pitch that way. So what did I do? I broke the laws of physics. I'm an object in motion. So I grab an object not in motion. Guess
Oh,
who hits the
geez.
ground immediately? Luckily, like, my broken arm was very it was a
Oh,
very
no.
clean break, but it was a
Yeah,
very traumatic experience. But helping people understand that this is the life experience you could have. I didn't plan to fall
I
off that horse
know.
and break my arm. I honestly thought, "Maybe I'm Gumby, I'll just bounce, it's great." No, I'm 43. I did not, in fact, bounce. And we get these disabilities as we age. We start to
We
lose our
do.
hearing. We start to lose the acuity of our vision. We start to gain like cognitive slowdown. It's not a full disability, but we have to make adjustments. And these things are just so normalized or swept out of the way that we just don't realize this could be us tomorrow. We get ill, we fall off a horse, we simply age.
Yeah, I feel like the broken bone example is one that probably would resonate with more people. I broke my ankle 8 years ago falling down the stairs, and I had to have 2 surgeries. I was on a knee scooter for, like, 6
Oh,
months.
yeah.
But it makes I still think back to that experience because I was working in downtown Boston, and if you know Boston, cobblestone streets, knee scooter in Boston,
It's
not
not great.
fun.
It's like wearing high heels in Paris. It's not great.
But it makes you really start to observe what places are accessible, like, where can you actually use, like, either a wheelchair entrance or an accessible entrance, and
Yeah.
you look at the world differently.
Yeah, because the world looks at you differently.
Yes, and that's what I think a lot of the population, especially as they begin to age, is gonna start to realize. And if they thought about even their grandparents or anything, they might realize it a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a pitch for South by Southwest, like putting this mojo out into the universe. But South by Southwest is accepting pitches for talks and workshops. And what I would like to do is a small workshop. Like, sure, I'd love to be on a huge stage, but I'd actually love to impact more people by helping them experience what the aging process is like and why it matters for them right now to make decisions that empower others because you are guaranteed to need it. So, I want it to be a very interactive kind of experience, and I haven't quite figured out the exact details, but that's what I'm going for. I really want people to walk out and go, "Oh, all right, now I really need to make a change about how I approach the design and the development of technology because I want this to be available for me in 20, 30, 40 years whenever I need it."
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Oh my gosh. Ugh, I'm getting chills.
I want those people to have chills and go, "Oh my god, I never knew."
I know we talked a little bit about the level of education that you do with many people around your services. I'm curious, is there anything else that you wish workplaces or leaders understood about neurodiversity or accessibility?
That it looks different than what you think it does. Again, it's that same like, well, it's like businesses not only assume none of our customers have disabilities. Well, you just don't know because you haven't asked any of them, or you've excluded the ones who could use your service, but you've made it inaccessible. Similarly, they assume that, well, none of my employees have disabilities. Okay, 70% of them are invisible. You won't know. And it's also not okay to just ask. And you should be welcoming to folks who have different perspectives and lived experiences regardless, and be willing to be open if someone says, "Hey, that was really hard to understand. Is there a way that I could get subtitles for this Zoom call or, closed captioning, the transcripts? Is there a way that we could make sure that when we post this video to our website, you add a transcript to it? My mom would love to see this, and it turns out she's hard of hearing," kind of thing. It like none of what I suggest and help people do is rocket science. That's what I laugh about because honestly, we're just trying to get people to a base level of accessibility at some point. Like we're not even doing the extreme stuff and just helping them understand that this is everyone in the population and it doesn't require you to have a disability in order to understand the experience of someone with a disability and that you should care about it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. My background in tech and UX was actually in ed tech. And so it was always kind of like a baseline. You had to do it if you're creating education products because it's literally was a law at the time. And it's so interesting to me. as I shifted into other industries over the years that it wasn't handled with the same level of care, but it is a baseline that all companies need to be aiming for.
I mean, by default, if you are not even doing the bare minimum of accessibility, you're excluding at least 15% of your potential market. And that is something that a business owner has to pay attention to. 15% of potential market is huge. And then you also think about that 15% is just the people with disabilities. Now consider all of their friends and family and people who will make buying decisions based on how their friends and loved ones are being treated. And that's a $13 trillion market. I think it was Forrester in the last couple of years that was like, this is a tree that nobody has like, wait, no, that's a terrible analogy. I call it like the fruit of the $1 billion tree,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're basically like, you're missing out on income if you're excluding these
Yep.
people.
Yeah, yeah, I so agree. I'm curious because the work that you're doing is very much it's impactful. You're advocating a lot for other people. As especially a neurodivergent leader, tend to have more empathy and it can be energy draining. And so I'm curious, how do you protect your energy when you're doing such meaningful work?
Oh my gosh. That is a great question. I remember when you sent that over to start with, and I was like, I don't think I have an answer for you yet because I am still struggling with that. That is still an ongoing challenge. One of the things that I am working on is recognizing that I only have so much control of what I can do and how much I can hold energetically. And I care so deeply that sometimes it drains me because I'm trying to make sure I'm not remembering to put my own oxygen mask on before helping others often. So honestly, I need some feedback from other leaders on how they're protecting their energy. Something I'm trying to do is take a break for at least 5 days a quarter where I'm not trying to be on social media. I'm not answering calls. I'm not on Zoom calls. I'm not on meetings. And even if it's just like, let's go hide in the woods for a few days, that is what I'm giving myself. But on a day-to-day basis, no. I call these my smooth brain vacations because I'm literally like, I don't want to make any decisions. I literally pack the same outfits into the suitcase that I pack for every trip because I'm
Oh my
just rinsing and
gosh.
repeating the experience because
I
I
love it.
need that disengagement for my brain to stop going, let's do this. And then we can do this. And we need to save that person. And oh my gosh, they lost their job. I've really got to talk to everybody I know in order to make sure that they feel safe. And I'm like, again, oxygen mask.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally true. I'm the same way, like, and in in motherhood, I have found my empathy and also my ADHD symptoms have kind of
Ramped up a
exacerbated.
little.
Yeah, because I'm not taking my regular medication anymore, and
It's
so
the hormones, man. As a mid-40s woman, I am discovering that hormones are controlling all of it. I have
yes.
I'm 2 years into a journey of figuring out what perimenopause is like and the hormone levels in my body, and that directly impacts in a way that I had no idea how my life experience unfolds on a day-to-day basis.
Yes,
Nobody tells you
yes.
this. Nobody tells you anything.
Nobody tells you anything.
Ugh.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, and what I found is that, like, same thing, like, whenever me and my husband go on vacations, we always go to a botanical garden, we go to a library or a bookstore. It's like we have these solid things, and me, like, if you looked at my office, it's like my notebook, I'm just, like, writing things down because otherwise it just is out of my brain, I completely forget about it now. So yeah, but a huge thing when you mentioned the energy thing, one of my favorite books is Set Boundaries, Find Peace. It's all about boundary work and it talks about family, workplace boundaries, all of those things, but
Set
it's
boundaries,
really
find peace. Okay, I'm getting
yeah.
that. That's immediately what I'm doing after we're off this call.
I'll send you the link for it, but
Please.
I find that boundaries are my forever learning lesson,
Yeah.
like
Because
forever.
I will probably say that, like most people who grew up assigned female at birth and also raised as a little girl, we were never taught boundaries. Like, we weren't even taught boundaries with, especially if you were of a certain age, we were not taught boundaries with strangers. Now they're telling their
No,
kids, you don't have to smile at that old man if you don't want to. You don't have to be nice to him just
no,
because he said, hey, little girl. And we were not raised to say, no,
no.
thank you. just be compliant, smile, and go along.
Yeah. It's been somewhat liberating, honestly. Because, like, even as I was adopted, I'm a transracial adoptee. Growing up, I remember, like, I couldn't even find people who had similar hair that as I did, and now it's like, "Oh, there's a whole curly hair aisle within the grocery
Yay.
store."
I'm so grateful for that. I don't
Yeah.
have curly hair, but it's certainly like everyone deserves to feel their best. It's so
Yes.
weird that that was kind
Yes.
of suppressed in the market for so long.
Exactly, exactly. We've talked a lot so far. You are someone who your essence just, like, oozes curiosity, and I'm curious, what have you been curious about lately? What piques your interest lately?
What has piqued my interest lately? That's a really good question. One of the things, so I have a, speaking of boundaries, I struggle to set, now I'm like, let me use my words carefully because I don't want to manifest anything going forward. In the past, my momentum has led me to not set boundaries between work and personal life. So I have a tendency to just like, what do you mean 12-hour days? I goofed off during that time, but now I'm reading over here. So I have a tendency to let the curiosity from my work bleed into like the things that I want to read about. So right now
Mm,
I'm reading about the ugly laws. Do you know about these?
no.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So there's an entire it's not like a series, it's a collection of 7 different books by different authors. And this one is called The Ugly Laws. And I'm going to tell you,
Oh,
it's a little
interesting.
academic. It's a little like you
That's
could have
okay, I'm
used.
a researcher.
Okay, good. Then you're gonna love this book. A lot of other people are like, "This is dry." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that's the fun of it." And essentially, it goes into the history of these laws that made it possible for people to persecute the disabled, mostly the disabled, but also just people who were other than the predominant civilization in a location. And the latest ugly law to be repealed was not until like 1974 in Chicago, by the way. And essentially, it made it illegal for you to be named or disgusting or deplorable or just unsightly. Essentially, it made it possible for someone to be like, I don't like the look of you. You're not allowed to be in public. And it made it a crime to be in public. Now, some people were like, ooh, look at, they were kind of doing the like, look at my twisted leg and like pay me for like the freak show kind of thing. And this is like not hundreds of years ago, unfortunately, but we'll say like 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. But what it did was it bled into penalizing people who were seeking jobs, like in the Great Depression when tramps was a word we don't use now except in the context of like lower back tattoos in the 90s. But we're talking like people who would get on trains and just try to go seek work in other cities, but they obviously didn't have a place to stay and they didn't have a lot of money and they were just trying to seek work and they were penalized for being unsightly in public. And this was actually all over the place. So I'm in this book, but every time I like read a page or two, I got to go to ChatGPT and ask questions. I got to go do some reading over here. I get into really deep, long conversations with ChatGPT, and I'm just like, tell me about the ugly laws in Portland, Oregon, because that actually was specifically called out. And I was like, oh God, because I'm in Portland and we've had some history with excluding other people as well. It goes into like the gentrification of areas and how it allowed people to essentially appropriate land because they think you look different than me. You aren't as deserving as me. It
Mm,
really kind of also coincides with that whole like purity and cleanliness, white supremacy culture that we see. So like
yeah,
all of these things are deeply intertwined and it's all activism. So
yeah.
I feel like yes, I'm making websites, but like I'm doing maybe it's not low level activism, but like I'm not getting out with a picket sign, but it's advocacy because again, I will be disabled someday. I have ADHD, I'm on the autism spectrum, I have auditory processing disorder, which that also got discovered about 10 years ago. Got vision related
Oh, I
disabilities.
got vision. Oof.
Y'all, we are all we're in a I'm doing my best to stay healthy, but like there is
Yeah.
a future life experience that I expect to have some additional needs. And if I don't advocate for them now and help educate other people on why it's necessary, it's not
Yeah.
going to be available.
Yeah, and it sounds like you said the ugly law, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
It sounds like that is, like, the extreme of how bad things can get, and, like, the case of like, let's not go in that direction again. It
Yeah.
sounds almost like the intersectionality of a few different things, like all coinciding into this law that is just horrible, like
Yeah.
horrible.
I mean,
Um,
it digs into did you ever watch the show? It's an older one called The Man in the High Castle.
no.
The premise of the show is that the Allied forces did not win World War II, the Axis forces did, and Germany took over the east coast of US and Japan took over the west coast of the US, and then in the middle there's this no man's land, and it was the most disturbing moment that I can literally picture clear as day. This guy is driving from New York across. He's trying to smuggle something. I don't know. I don't remember that part. What I remember is him in this truck getting pulled over by a police officer and this it looks like snowflakes gently falling through the
Uh,
sky. You're like, oh, how beautiful. And then he's like, is it snowing? It seems really warm for snow. And the
it's
police officer says,
ashes.
no, it's Tuesday. On Tuesdays, we burn the mentally ill and crippled. And that's the concept of how that storyline slash it was also evident in other countries, how they suppressed and eliminated people that were different. And like,
Yeah.
where does it stop? If we
Yeah.
allow them, the greater them, if we allow them to say, well, you're physically disabled, you're not allowed to be in this space. Oh, well, now you have a maimed arm and I don't like the look of that. You're not allowed to be in this space.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're neurodivergent. You think about things differently. You're not allowed in this space. I'm like, where does it end? So there is an extreme here. I think we all know the historical connotations that I'm like alluding to. And that's not the world I want to live in. That's not the world
No,
that's safe.
no. And I think it highlights the importance of your work and at this moment in time, especially with what we talked about with the current administration. Yeah. And it's your energy, your advocacy work, it is infectious.
I
And
hope so.
it really is. It really
I'm trying to
is.
get people to understand that it's actually not that hard. It's kind of fun to find these things. It's exciting to know that you make a difference. So that's part of the reason I'm starting with like the early career folks, because it's kind of like if you can get the kids involved, the adults will come too. If we can get the early career folks,
Yeah.
their energy and excitement and their lack of
Yes.
burnout is going to
Yes,
help
that's
bring
true.
the other folks along too.
That is very true, that is very true. Um, well, it has been so lovely to connect with you. How can listeners keep in touch with you if they wanna connect with you?
Oh my gosh, I would love that. There's a number of ways. So I have a book out. It's the Practical UX book. It's if you are an early career designer and or developer and you want to get some experience with this book is a start to finish process for how to get paid to get industry recognized experience. If you're not and you're just a small business owner and you're maybe curious about like, hey, how can I start to improve my website? I have a mailing list called the Daily UX and I send out, it should be like less than 3 minutes a read. And it's a snippet, a tip of information on something that is user experience related or accessibility related. And you can find that at maigenthomas.com. That's where I've got my mailing list. You'll also, it is not a scheduled, it is a very rare, the Maigen Magic list is maybe once or twice a month. I'll send you thoughts that are in my head and things that are going on. But yeah, come hang out with me, reach out. I would love to support you and anything that you're working on accessibility wise. I love doing lunch and learn. So if you think, hey, my company is not going to let me dig into this, bring me in. Let me convince them that their money is going to be impacted by doing this in a positive way, and then they can support you internally.
I love this. Thank you so much, Megan. It was really lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for being here. If something in this episode landed with you, feel free to pass it along to someone who might need it too. You can leave a review, subscribe, or just keep tuning in. We're figuring it out together. And remember, your story, your voice, your becoming, it all matters.